Now, does anybody else has anything that they want to say about why conversations like this is so hard uh, for people to have, especially in white America?
Yeah, I think it's fair. I think it's fair to say because like you said, that a lot of our issues, are not taken seriously. Not having to fear to go to jail. It's crazy that in my 30s I still have to fear as a black man who is educated, who is, who has children, have a wife, have a job, have our own business, a part of a fraternity, and I still have to worry about going to jail every day. Like this is something that that the media
That could
continue
just
to
happen to
feed
you.
me.
That could
You know what I'm
just
saying?
happen.
It
Yeah.
doesn't matter my status. It doesn't matter how much money I make. It doesn't matter, how educated I am. I still have to think about these things, and it's not fair. It's not fair to see Obama get in office, and then all the rights for, all gay rights get passed, but not one, nothing is given to the black community to make us feel like we're moving forward. You know, in some instances, we're even though we are a community driven group of people, we are still forced to think about ourselves. Ourselves alone. Like I got to get me my four and no more. I got to think about me and my family.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, I got to think about the people attached to me. But we are a community-based group of people, but society has forced us to think about ourselves. I mean, we talk about what do you call it? What's the word? Uh, Segregation, desegregation. They talk about it all the time, how desegregation was the worst thing that could have happened for us because it took the doctors that we had, the black doctors that we had access to, the black lawyers that we had access to, the black people that had status had to live in the same communities with the black people who did not have much. And so, we were all looked at as niggas, for less of a better term, for lack of a better term to say, we were all looked at that way, whether you were a doctor, lawyer, or whatever. And so because of desegregation, we were separated from each other. And then in essence, now, now we're still seeing laws being passed for other groups of people, whereas, us as a race, we're still faced to fight the same issues we've been fighting since 1800s.
And what's so powerful about that, especially BJR, I'm gonna go back to what you were saying about money because that gets into the next point that we want to get into there. But here I am with another story because as a black man in America that's almost in his 30s, I'm 4 years away from being in my 30s, and I understand what you mean, Titus. Like, let me tell you guys this story. One time, whenever I was about to start fourth grade, my dad, we were driving to go return some shoes the night before for the first day of school because the shoes couldn't fit me. So we were going back to Walmart to return them. Apparently, someone called the cops on us saying that we had expired license plates. All right, that's cool. We did. I think my dad did end up having them on the back. So that's cool. It's whatever. So the cops stop us. And my dad has always taught me to be as respectful as possible to someone like that's an authority because they have the right and they have the way to put you in jail and to do whatever they want just based off of the tone of voice that you're using and stuff like that. And I know it's not right, but we still have to have those conversations. And we're going to talk more about that later on during this. Like the thing escalated to the point where, my dad's being respectful. They got my dad out the car, telling him to get out of the car. My dad told me he had a box cutter in his pocket. The guy tell him to take the box cutter out of his pocket. And mind you, there's 3 cops on him. All 3 of them draw their guns and put them on my dad and tell my dad to get onto the ground and put his nose into the concrete. My father was 50 years old at that point in time in his life. He was 50 years old. The guy he just turned 64. So just turned 64 in January. He used to be back in the day whenever you had those times when they had to eat behind the damn restaurant and you had flies and bugs and all that other stuff on food, and he remembers that. He remembers that very clearly. He remembers being with his grandmother and that happening. And they put guns on this man. This man is highly educated. He has a mathematics degree. He went back to school and got his law degree at the age of 50. Got his law degree later on that year. Ended up doing all that, served this country. So whenever they want to talk about like, burning the flag or something like that, my father served this country. He's a veteran. He ended up disabled because of the military. and he gets treated like that while at home. They put guns on this man for no apparent reason. And a box cutter, the blade is this big. Blade is this big. There are three of you, one of him, and he is slinky. He's skinny. He's like maybe 2 inches, 3 inches taller than me. I'm bigger than him. You telling me that you guys were afraid of this man?
Man, let me tell you, and you know, first of all, you know, big ups to your dad for serving our country. I'm also a veteran, and so just to kind of like even piggyback off of that, I remember I had a failure to appear in court, but it wasn't because I wasn't trying to get there. It was because I went to the wrong courthouse. I showed up to the courthouse late. The judge was like on the last case, and I came in. They asked me my name. I'm like, yes, I'm Titus Burrell. And then they just had me stand there, like, all right, sir, just wait. They let the last case go by, and then when it was over, it's like, yes, sir, your case already passed. You got to go down. You know, you get ready to be booked. So, and I'm like, for what? I went to the wrong courthouse. So they were like, well, you know, you weren't here for your case. So, you know, there's a warrant already put out for you. So, you know, now we have to book you. So they took me downstairs, handcuffed me, all this stuff. Mind you, I'm a veteran at this time. I'm going to Towson University. I got a family. All I did was miss my case because I went to the wrong courthouse. They bring my case. They said if I miss the court date, I'm gonna have to pay. If I miss the next court date, I'm gonna have to pay $10,000 to get out, right? In full. There was gonna be no bond, no bail, no nothing. I was gonna have to pay Towson, the Baltimore County, $10,000 in full in order to get out of jail if I miss my next court date. I go to court the next time. I make it for my court date. And when the same judge who decided that they were going to book me ended up finding out I was a veteran, ended up finding out I was going to Towson University, and then she basically just dismissed my case. Oh man, he's a good individual, just dismissed my case. Like that shouldn't have never happened. You shouldn't have had to figure out I was a veteran. You shouldn't have had to figure out whether I went to college. You shouldn't have had to figure, I should have walked in there and been treated with dignity, whether you knew I was educated and was a veteran or not. And the fact that I was the black man who walked in the courthouse late and you took me downstairs with no preconceived with the preconceived notion that I was being irresponsible based on the color of my skin was just absolutely wrong. And so I completely understand.
And that's sad. And it's sad that we have stories like this. And I guarantee every black man that's on this video and every black man that might watch this video whenever it comes out can tell you stories like this. And partially the reason for this is when you think about it, is the privatized prison complex. The privatized prison complex, if you're not too familiar with it, is the concept where corporations invest in prisons and invest in them being built, and also invest in lobbyists that pass laws to get more people sent to prison for things that should be just minuscule, but they make it more than that, and then they tack on a lot of years for it. A person that, it's sad in me to say this because of how influential he is in the black community is Michael Jordan. He has invested in a bunch of prisons in Chicago. And the pure fact that we see people out here fighting to get his shoes while he owns these prisons and while he invests in these lobbyists, to me, is sad. It's sad. Yep. And so what do you guys think about just the privatized prison complex and just what's going on there?
I've never been to jail, obviously, so I can't really give an opinion on from an inside point, but from an outside point, is basically what you said with the whole Michael Jordan thing. You have someone who just had a documentary that people praise the ground that he walks on, but yet he's still okay with sending those black men to jail, and he's funding it. I don't think that, of course, I think if somebody's going to go to jail, yeah, I think it should be for the right reasons. But I often also think that because of the color of our skin, they're just waiting to throw us in a cage regardless. And that's whether you want to talk about this day and age or in the past. That's their MO for the whole thing. We're not looked at as someone who deserves a fair shot or a fair trial. We're looked at as, what did they do? Oh, a bag of weed. All right, you get like 50 years in prison. And it's the craziest thing. And then eventually they have to go back to redo it and realize, okay, it wasn't that bad to begin with. But it shouldn't have gotten to that point at all. Like my dad, he was he was a Marine, and he was a correction officer in Rikers Island. So I hear stories of what goes on during those situations. And some of the people there, yeah, do they deserve to be there? Of course. But you have the ones that don't deserve to be there, But the other part is like by the time they're in there and they come out, it's already on their rap sheet. So by the time they go to apply to a job, by the time they apply to a loan, by the time they try to do anything with their life to get it better, they're already looked at as, well, you were in prison. You already looked at as you did X, Y, and Z to get yourself there. So why should I give you this opportunity? So basically their lives are already ruined from the moment that the judge says, yeah, you're guilty going in there, especially if it's not justified. But they can't explain that because once it's done, it's done. Once it's documented, once it's written down, it's done. They can't, there's no way for them to go back and explain or undo it, because again, if they're going to a white person, they're going to look at them and say, oh, prison. Okay, I'm going to choose the other person. Even if the other person did something wrong, they're still going to look at that black man and say, okay, you were in prison, so I don't know if I can really trust you. And they're not going to really care about our side of the story about what actually happened.
Right. They're super corrupt. I think we can see that, especially with the privatization of prisons and the for-profit prisons, that's just going to encourage people to get arrested for smaller things because people are making money off of it and makes the rich get richer. And that increases people's power. And that's, again, what it was all about, like what Brandon said earlier.
Yep. Power is the common denominator here from everything that we have talked about. Is just power. And it's and because we have to call it a spade. It's the white people's their ability that have power that has come from generations. So for us, what we need to do is to really expose that more as a community, as, just people, as creators, because, me, Brandon, Titus, Corey, we're all content creators. We all produce music, media, stuff like that. So what we need to do is really expose those things with these outlets that we built for ourselves, with these platforms. But we're going to talk more about that in another section of this. But I think when you talk about, Corey, going back to what you were saying about people being victimized and people going into prison and they're not able to really prove themselves innocent like that, because you're going to jail for something that's legalized right now. They legalized weed. There's no reason why people who were put in jail for having weed is still there.
They're still there.
There's no reason why, other than it makes them money, or other than they don't give a damn. Is one of those two things. It really is.
They're gonna prolong them being there as much as they possibly can.
Yes, and it's sad. It's sad that even happens.